In some breaking news, we do have the first head coach firing of the 2022 NFL season, and that honor, or should I say dishonor, goes to Matt Rhule, the now former head coach of the Carolina Panthers, out after 3 seasons with the team, 3 very mediocre seasons with the team. Matt Rhule leaves Carolina with a total record of 11-27. His tenure in Carolina can be defined with one word, and I believe that word to be mediocrity. Every year, the Carolina Panthers were almost destined to get to that 5-11 or 6-10 level of play, and that was going to be the record that they finished with. And they weren't ever going to get higher than that, no matter how talented we might have thought that they were. And at the end of the day, a lot of that goes to Matt Rhule for not being able to get more out of his players and not being able to establish an identity. Now, it's worth to note that now the former head coach of the Arizona Cardinals and the secondary coach for the Carolina Panthers, Steve Wilks, is now serving as the interim head coach for the remainder of the 2022 season with Matt Rhule's firing. Matt Rhule's firing, again, is the first one of this season. There are likely going to be a few more to come. But going back to what I said about Matt Rhule and his tenure in Carolina, there were so many times in Matt Rhule's time in Carolina where you thought that maybe this team has something. Last year, when they started 3-1, I think that was when everyone said, okay, Carolina might have something here. They really might be able to pull together this roster and go on a run. Was it going to be a Super Bowl run? Absolutely not. But maybe the playoffs. Maybe they're going to take that next step. And that was it. Every season, it seemed like we were waiting for the Carolina Panthers to take that next step in their development, take that next step in their evolution, move away from the Cam Newton era. And in a weird way, they kind of indirectly moved back into the Cam Newton era last year. When Sam Darnold went out, they ended up getting Cam Newton again in that publicity stunt, which worked out fine because they sold tickets and people still came to the games, even though the team was utter garbage. But it was no different this year. You just did not see the inspiration from the head coach. You did not see the players playing inspired football, and it led to them starting 1-4. And didn't matter who was playing quarterback, whether it was Baker Mayfield, whether it was Sam Darnold, whether it was Teddy Bridgewater in his first year. It just did not work. And it is it an indictment on Matt Rhule as a head coach? Sure, in the NFL, but let's not forget where Matt Rhule came from. Like, Matt Rhule is a guy who is going to have offers to go back to college at the end of the day. He's going to have these offers to go back to college. This is a man who had back-to-back 10-win seasons at Temple University, a man who a rough start during his time at Baylor, but he comes back in his final year at Baylor and he wins like 11 games. They end up going to the Sugar Bowl that year. I believe they lost that game, but still, Matt Rhule was a guy, like, there's a reason he got to this stage, but there's also a reason why not every great college head coach is getting an NFL job or getting an NFL offer. It's because not all great college head coaches are good NFL head coaches. You can ask the best college head coach of all time in Nick Saban that. He will tell you the same thing. Great coach in college. When he got to the NFL, it just did not work out. And I see a team going after Matt Rhule in college. I don't know who that's going to be, but there will be a premier team that's going to end up getting his services. And he's worth that. He's a great coach in college. But it just doesn't work out in the NFL sometimes. Like, the job descriptions for a college head coach and an NFL head coach are two very different things. So we'll see what ends up happening there on that front. As far as the Carolina Panthers go moving forward in their head coaching search, I think this is a team that desperately needs to find an identity because they were not able to do that under Matt Rhule. This was a team that people thought, hey, their defense is really good. Maybe that's going to be their identity. That never materialized. Baker Mayfield comes over. Maybe Baker's gonna galvanize this team, and he's going to be the identifying factor of this team. That didn't work either. So it's like we're constantly in this revolving door of like, okay, what's the identity? What's the identity? We don't know. And a guy who I think is going to help establish that moving forward would be a guy like Eric Bieniemy, a guy who players respect. Everyone he's coached in the Kansas City Chiefs has nothing but great things to say about him. People have been saying this is a guy who's overdue for an NFL head coaching job for the past few years. So I think he's going to be there. He's going to be one of the best, if not the best, candidate for a head coaching job coming over the next few months. Another person is going to be Brian Flores, who, remember, his team, when he was head coach of the Dolphins his last year, the team started 1-7, and they ended up winning. I think they ended up winning 8 of their last 9. They ended up 8-1 down the stretch. So he did a great head coaching job at the end of that season. The year before, they went 10-6 and barely missed the playoffs in a crazy AFC playoff race that year. Like, he's coming back off of back-to-back winning seasons and then being fired. So his name is going to be in the conversation as well. Who knows, if Steve Wilkes does well, his name could end up being in the conversation. But we'll see what ends up happening there. What we do know, though, Matt Rhule is gone, and this likely is going to set up a bit of a domino effect earlier on than we maybe expected for head coaches to be fired in the middle of the season. We'll see who the next one is. Let me know what you guys think about Matt Rhule's firing, though. Was it just? Was it unjust? Was it deserved? Was it not? Let me know in the comment section below. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.